Welcome to Campaigns and Coffee. Today we're defining cozy. And so, first, we're going to define it in different languages. Chris, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind for me beyond just the word cozy is it was in vogue a few years ago. I believe it's pronounced hygge, though I know there are other pronunciations as well. It's Hygge from Danish and Norwegian. It describes a cozy, kind of centered, contented mood evoked by comfort and conviviality. So this is your sitting in a room with a candle lit while there's a storm going out, so there's a snowstorm outside, and you've got a mug of something warm and possibly alcoholic and curled up with it's this is a big thing. Okay, I'm going to say this. I am told this is a big thing in Danish culture. I have never met a Dane to ask. But this is the thing that was a few years ago. This was a big deal, and I got into it a little bit. It has changed the way that we look and do things in our house. But the idea of just, very soft edge, listening to quiet music, just trying to keep it very, very drawn down and cozy, very chill.
Yeah, so my non-English definition, and perhaps it's telling that we are looking to other languages for the definition of cozy and not English, but so the other definition is from Iceland, and I'm going to massacre the pronunciation of it. It's glugavugov. Maybe somebody can help me.
Glugave.
Yeah. Well, so we'll edit these into our how not to pronounce things. But I've heard this called window weather. It's weather that looks appealing from the inside, but would be unpleasant to be out in. So this is sitting by your window. There's a snowstorm going on outside. The sleet is rattling the window panes. And it's very pleasant to just be sitting there hearing it. But it would not be pleasant to have to go out and do something in it.
Do you notice that we don't have any tropical culture words for cozy, like places where there are sun?
I imagine this. I do think this is like a universal human thing. So I imagine there is, and perhaps we just haven't been steeped in it. But I do think that.
Maybe that's just the constant state in the tropical.
Could be.
Maybe. I do think, my family is Swedish, although I have close ties to my Swedish ancestry. And I do think there is something to be said for when you have, 6 months of absolute darkness, basically, and horrible cold weather, your need for something cozy and words to describe the comfortable feeling of sitting by a window when everything outside is a raging mess. I can see where you might be more inclined to have those terms. But if other folks know about other terms in other languages, we'd love to hear them. So for me, cozy stuff is, so I'm wearing my hockey jersey. This is my University of Vermont hockey jersey. So it's nice. It's got some heft to it, right? So you just throw that on. That's it's very chill. A nice comfortable mug, right? So one that has a heft to it. So this is my Philmont Maps mug, which reminds me of all the trails I hiked in Philmont. And having some good books and coffee. Lo-fi listening, I've just started kind of getting into that over the last year. Just like chill music that's not too driving or whatever. I still do that. Like if I need to get stuff done, I'm listening to the Pacific Rim soundtrack or the Winter Soldier soundtrack. But, nice lo-fi listening, cabin camping. And I think what's going to be the picture for this episode is snuggling puppies. Because as we've discussed before, my family and I raised seeing eye puppies, and the puppies always end up snuggling with one of the older dogs. And so almost every night we've got Spirit just snuggling up to Hank, Spirit is 6 months old and Hank is 9 years old. And the puppy, it started off, he's this tiny little puddle of black Labrador. And now he's bigger than Hank. It just kind of sprawls across him whenever they're snuggling. But it's very cute. Chris?
Very cool. So I've got a couple here, and some of them are related to the time of year. I am not a fan of summertime at all. I know people who like to go to beaches. That sounds terrible to me. I'm a northern climate person. But one of the things that my sister and I do, we have this little ritual. One of us will send a picture of the window being open a crack and the heater, like the room heater, being on, and just text windows open, heater on, and the proper answer is as God intended. There is and I don't know why this is, but in my family, the idea of the fresh, cool air coming in, but also being comfortable enough to be warm is a thing. It's definitely a cozy thing for us. Now, we don't do this in the dead of winter. That sort of thing. It's more of a spring autumn thing, but like when the crisp air comes in but you still want to be warm. That was, so windows open, heater on. Storms. I'm a big fan of storms. Where I grew up, we had a screened-in back porch, and often when there was a good thunderstorm or even a snowstorm, I'd bundle up and go outside. I'm that guy that will also go out and build a campfire in 6 inches of snow and sit in a chair and sip something warm and sit in front of the fire. I don't recommend it for everybody, but sometimes I have a mood. Reading is always cozy to me. No matter what I'm reading, no matter where I am, if I can pull out a book, it's like an instant cozy bubble. Cooking and listening to 1920s to 1940s music and on the radio. There is a great station. They just went to Patreon only, because you gotta have money to do these things. Called Swing City Radio, that I will put on, and it is just old timey radio stuff. It reminds me of the music my grandmother would play when we would go and hang out in her kitchen and do some cooking. Like, if I can get 2 or 3 projects going on a Sunday afternoon and the house is smelling like a roast or chicken or something like that, that's a whole thing for me. Coffee in coffee shops. Coding while listening to music, it's the same sort of feeling to me as reading. It's, I'm in a flow, I'm in a little bubble, I've got stuff going on and I can ignore the world. Sipping bourbon hot cocoa with the Christmas lights on in the dark, that's a good one. And then being off the internet, just being disconnected, is incredibly cozy to me. I find the modern internet since about 2006 to be unpleasantly like having telepathy you can't shut off. And in recent years, I've realized that really I invite this into my life by connecting to things and checking websites and things. So just putting everything away. For a little while, I had this little box that I made that was a little Faraday cage, and I had it decorated with arcane symbols, and I would put the little demon glass box inside the box, and it would be totally disconnected from everything. I lost it in the move. But being just generally a sense of disconnection, I think, is a very cozy thing.
Yes, listen, going back to music for a second, I came across this. I'll link to it in the show notes, but they have the Ghoul log for Fallout.
Yes.
So so it actually like scratches on sort of both of these itches, but it also is funny. So this may or may not be cozy for people depending on your opinions of Fallout. But that's next episode. But it's like 1950s, 60s ish, like music, just like from Fallout. But then it's the radio announcer from Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
No, and that's
and people are calling in.
The other one of those that I will use throughout the holiday season is the Darth Vader Yule log.
Yeah, I have to look up I've seen the Ghoul log. Go ahead.
It's Darth Vader on the pyre in Return of the Jedi. Thank you,
man.
And for 8 hours, and it doesn't play music or anything. It's just crackling flames. But that goes on the TV, and it's very cozy.
I'll have to. I don't think Erin knows about that. I'm going to have to surprise her with that.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Another one
I've heard of the Ghoul log, but I have not put it on yet, so I'll have to give that one a try.
You'll have to listen to it. It was fantastic because it starts off with like the introduction is by the Ghoul, and then you start listening to the music, and then I'm playing New Vegas right now, and I'm like, wait, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's Wayne Newton, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's Wayne Newton.
I did not know that.
Singer. The other one of these that I want to recommend, if we're talking about this, is there is a Nick Offerman drinking scotch in front of a fireplace one, where he just sits there and drinks scotch and stares at you for 8 hours. It's
that's hilarious. Funny. That's hilarious.
I was gonna say the one that I posted it too. There's a couple of these, but if you find Star Trek and Elcars relaxing, there are these. There's a YouTube one, and there's I think just a webpage one where it is the schematic of like the Enterprise E or they did one for the Titan, and it's just zooming in on the ship, showing like the turbo lifts going up and down, zooming back out again, and it's got like that low key, next gen sounds like in the background.
Yeah.
Low starship hum.
But I'm sorry, David, you have a list. Please.
I do have a list. Yeah. And you're probably some of these things is gonna overlap other people's as well. Erin got me into the first one I have here, which is Rain on the Roof as I head to bed. Lights out. Our bedroom is right under the roof, so it's just you just hear hear it pattering. And normally it's, in order to hear it pattering, it has to be like near thunderstorm outside. You know, it has to be really hard rain, but it just sounds so good. And in addition to that one, in spring and summer would be hearing crickets and peepers when you have the window cracked open out from outside, and just that whole outdoor peep peep, just that sound just sends me to sleep. And it's just nice and cozy. It's not a wakefulness cozy in that sense. On the wakefulness cozy side of things, reading a good book on the couch or in a comfy chair, making sure I'm warm and cozy or cool and cozy if it's the summer. I have found recently that laying out under an umbrella on the beach, not directly on the sand, on something else, sometimes with a book, just sometimes watching people and looking out at the surf, I can spend a long time, especially with a book. I can spend hours out there. The umbrella is necessary, or I will need to look like a lobster, even though I tan fairly well. Hours under the sun is not good for human skin. Similar to Chris's cooking and side of things and listening to the 40s and 50s radio, just having music around the house, almost any music, because I've heard it so often, like Nine Inch Nails just kind of fades into the background. But just That's having true. That and just doing little chores around the house, doing dishes, baking something. A lot of it centered around the kitchen, evidently. But just doing that sort of stuff is it's just calming to me. And my last one, which I haven't done in quite a while, and I need to, is just sitting out on the porch in the pre-dawn hours when everything is quiet. People aren't yet going to work. So this is more like spring, summer, when you have a very early sunrise and people aren't needing to drive to work in complete darkness. But just sit out there with a cup of coffee. Sometimes I'll write. But I'm trying to remember somebody that Aaron introduced me to who's big in the forestry side of things. I'll remember it and put it in the show notes. But he wrote a whole book where he'd get up at 5 a.m. and make coffee and just sit out and just watch the sunrise. And I'm like, 5 a.m? Are you crazy? And then I got older and it stopped going to bed at 1 a.m. Most of the time. Yeah. Last night aside. But yeah, it's nice to just get up in the morning when there's just nobody around and everybody's still sleeping. It's quiet. It's just really nice.
That's what I miss from backpacking, was being able to just, you roll out of your tent, it's cold, but you get the coffee going, break out your backpacking chair, just chill, and everything starts slowly waking up around you.
My mother, for years, she still does this because it was the only time she could get quiet. She gets up in the morning and reads her devotional and does her Bible reading, And I inherited that. I don't do the Bible reading, but I'll get up and I want to read a piece of nonfiction, or something that's going to kind of get me into the day. I agree with you, David. The sitting out on the front porch, we're a little too close to the road now, and it's a little too busy. We're on a fairly busy road, but I adore that too. Like you can, when I camp, I haven't been camping in years, but that smell of the coffee over the campfire is just heavenly with the smoke, and it really takes me back. I love that.
Yeah, so I think it's pivoting a little bit, and I tried to add a note about this in our notes. So a lot of what we're talking about is experiences. I think half of what we described is just like being right place, right time, so things align, and then it's like, yes, I can finally relax. But maybe more how to manufacture the cozy, right? Or how to get your brain to decelerate enough, right? Because David was talking about, Hades 2, great game. It has maybe some cozy game aspects to it if you want to squint, but probably not going to actually relax you, right? And so for me, I found myself, it was like playing video games can be relaxing, but it gets me really keyed up too. And we're going to have a full episode about cozy games. But I found that I have a a coloring program for my iPad, right? And so I'll disconnect and, like Chris was saying, get off the internet, go into Wi-Fi, turn off the Wi-Fi and just go in and draw, right? Or fire up Procreate and draw, do a puzzle, something to make your brain drop down a few gears.
You know what's really good for that? Some of these solo RPGs that are out there. These Be Like a Crow, these are built to be cozy individual experiences that are disconnected. People connect them and people make web things for them, and that's fine. When you sit down and you play, it's just you and what's in your head and your dice and your cards, And I know some people find that deeply unsettling. One of my kids has a thing about being connected, and it's just I don't know if it's a generational difference or a cultural difference or what, but yeah, the solo RPGs would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think at least for our generation, cutting out the wrong kinds of inputs and notifications and things, putting away the glass demon box, as you called it, putting the phone away, turning off the computer most of the time. Like I even find like using the iPad or the Kindle to read not as cozy as a physical book because there's less input.
I agree.
Less light shining in your eyes, less notifications that are possible, less possible distractions. Like even just having the iPad in my hand, I know there are things underneath the book that I'm reading. It just there's a portion of my brain that gets taken up with the fact that there's some other distraction sitting there waiting for me. And if I'm able to remove it, that's cozy.
My kids consider physical media cozy. Books, DVDs, anything they don't have to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hobby to go out now to use bookstores, because it's cheaper than maintaining the service online and stuff.
Sure.
They have it, they own it, and they can watch it when they want. And when they do that, everything else goes away. And I found that to be really, your point. I do a lot of reading on devices and off devices. So I've been going back recently and picking up mostly used hardbacks of the books that I treasure because I want them around when I don't want to be connected to things. I want to read them in physical form because it is a different experience.
Yeah.
It's much warmer. Analog's much warmer. They're warmer tone.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's also some things like I do to get myself into the mindset of, if not cozy, then downshifting, maybe getting to cozy. So, for example, I have had a lava lamp on my desk since high school. And when I come in here and I'm talking with you guys, or we're playing an RPG, or I'm just like going to work on something for me, not work, but my stuff, either it's building model rockets, I turn that on, right? And it takes about an hour for it to melt the wax and start actually doing its thing. But then you can kind of look off to the side and it's just a very chill. The blobs of wax are going up and down. I haven't turned them on yet, but in the winter, in my office, it's cold, coming up here takes effort. And, I have just little Christmas lights I turn on. They're very low key. They're doing the pulsing thing. And it's just, it may be 5 o'clock at night and absolutely dark in Pennsylvania, but sitting up here, it's just that little bit of warm fuzziness that goes.
The sensory stuff is so important. I do that with scent is really important. And so I've got a little kind of vaporizer because my wife doesn't like incense, smoke really loud. But I went out and I had this weird craving to smell patchouli from my youth, Patchouli and cloves is a certain period in my early 20s that I treasure. But I wanted, this new house that we're in smells different than the other one. It doesn't have the layers built up and all that. So I went out and I did that. Or candles, candles are good for that. But
Aaron is the huge proponent of candles.
We've got a pine candle going right now because it's Christmas time. So, but the scent of things, the sensory things that kind of usher us into that cozy mindset, I think is super important. And we often forget them when we're in survival mode, when we're just moving from thing to thing to thing. You forget that something so small can help so much.
And that kind of leads into when we're in kind of survival mode, or just I need to get through this day sort of mode. A lot of things that will come to at least my mind is I need to cut all distractions. And that's actually the wrong mindset. I need the right kind of sensory input, not no sensory input.
Yeah, because that's just as void is just as strange and unsettling.
Yeah. I need just enough sensory input to keep my mind even, I guess. And maybe that's the ADHD talking, is just the extra stuff. But I know, Chris, you don't have it, so you're talking about the same stuff. So
when we used to talk about meditation and grounding back in my old neo-pagan days, grounding. The idea of grounding yourself was a big thing, and you used rituals to do that. Sometimes the rituals just lighting a candle.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we all have these. We all have rituals: sitting out on the porch, getting the cup of coffee in the morning, sitting with the puppy, your cat. I mean, and these are super important, and it will usher you.
Like even we play a lot of role-playing games. There are groups out there, and I think we kind of need to develop one for our actual plays, because often we will talk and talk and talk and then be like, maybe we should play. But like a lot of times there's like a ritual of, I've actually heard of someone lighting a candle, and like when you light that candle, that is the signal to the start of the game. Or everybody has a meal beforehand, and when the meal is over, you sit down and you game.
We used to potluck. We used to do a potluck for my D&D game in the before days. Everybody would bring a little something. We'd have a little meal, and we'd game. And it was nice. I miss it. I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for Campaigns and Coffee. Stop by next time when we delve into cozy games.